one chapter called The Fusion of Genius. In evolutionary theory, it's called the bingo effect. The bingo effect is if you meet somebody whose precise characteristics are precisely what you need in order to totally explode your creativity. It's a blessing. It's happened to me a few times. It happened to me with John Whiteside when it was about the space program, and he was covering it, and I said, we're being born as a universal species, and he fell in love with me on site. He began to develop ways in which we could, that was how the syncons came into being, to bring all the sectors of society together to look at long-range evolutionary goals. What happened there was a fusion of genius. And it is so productive and creative, and so part of the manual is to really notice. I'm looking at Carolyn, there's a certain fusion of genius. And sometimes there's another chapter in there which I have to watch out for. It's called SupraSexual Promiscuity. Suprasexual promiscuity is you're really aroused easily. And I first thought of it in my early days of being so vocationally aroused is I would go to a party and I would have spoken or done something, and I was talking to one person after the other. Let's write this book. Let's create this new school. Oh, how about a new politics? Oh, and they're all true. So I came home the next morning with these cards, and all the people I was going to do this with, and I don't remember their names. That's a serious bad version of SupraSexual Promiscuity. But there is, in someone as vocationally aroused so easily, if you're that way, that you may have any number of suprasexual vocational arousals. And what we learn in the manual here is when one looks like it's really a fusion of genius, then you have to be committed to it. And it is as serious as a commitment to have a baby. It's a life form. And I say this to myself too. Because the life form, that once you say yes to it, when there is this type of fusion, it takes time. It takes nurturing. It isn't always fun. You know, everybody knows that. It isn't. But what keeps you going, and I think about this quite often myself, what keeps me going is I surf the spiral. And tomorrow we're going to talk a little bit more about that. But I recognize that this particular vocational call within me is the universal process of creation localized in this form. And if it got from subatomic particles to us here tonight, it wouldn't stop with me. In other words, it's the God force. It's the God force seen as an evolutionary power that transcends absolutely every obstacle to more life. So if you hit a time, which all of us do, where I don't want to go on, I don't think I can do that. Why should I be doing that? I'm almost 80. Why in the world am I not just visiting my grandchildren? What is this? But you know what happens? The arrow of Teleros. The impulse of creation. And I have to say that the callings are very specific for every single human being. They're not just a generalized, I'd like to be helpful. Because when you really say yes to it, you get more and more unique. There's a uniqueness in your own creativity. And that's why the joy of genius and the fusion of genius and the commitment. And it may not always work out, but there is something about staying with it and, you know, and cultivating it like you would a newborn child. It's a very, very deep practice. And there isn't a lot of training for it. And in learning it, you're recreating a new social structure because it's co-equal co-creativity based on unique expression of divine intent joining. You could say it's God force joining with God force. It's creator joining with creator. It's a spiritual path of the highest order because everybody's vocation